Eagles back to work. Doug Pederson addressing the media today. I thought he had a lot of interesting, newsworthy things to bring up, and we'll do that now. Dave Weinberg from the Press of Atlantic City joins us for his weekly conversation, Dave. And Doug Pederson back to work, but seems like Carson Wentz beat him there. He was back at 5:30 in the morning. No bye-week blues for him.
Yeah, I was talking to Carson just a few minutes ago, actually, and he was explaining how, he's really getting away a little bit. During the bye, went back to North Dakota, visited some family and friends, went hunting as usual. But he was as anxious as anybody to get back to work. And like you said, he's always one of the first guys here anyway, but he just couldn't wait to get back and get started getting ready to play football again.
Yeah, you wonder after the start that he's got, what does he need to improve on? But I guess after 3 weeks of the NFL and 4 weeks for a lot of these teams, more tape, tendencies, people start to find out things on him. And I guess this will be a really interesting test, as Doug Pederson kind of indicated, that we'll learn a lot more about Carson Wentz after this week.
Yeah, and to Carson's credit, he refused to buy into all the awards and stuff that he was getting over the bye. He got NFL Offensive Rookie of the Month, and he just kind of brushed it aside and said it's only been 3 games. It's way too early to get excited about anything. So I got to give him a lot of credit for not believing his own hype and not getting a little too overconfident. And that's the message that Doug's been preaching to everybody. For the since they went 3-0, that still a long way to go here. Don't get too pumped up, and just make sure you don't stop doing the stuff that got us to this point.
One thing for Carson Wentz that should help him is the return of Zach Ertz. Said his MRI came back clear. He plans to play this week, and I really think that he's just going to continue to add to this offense. And Doug Pederson mentioned today that he envisioned using all 3 tight ends, so we should see another wrinkle to this offense this week.
Yeah, this will be the first time they've done it because Trey Burton missed the first game with, I think, a foot injury or something. And so, yeah, they've been talking since minicamps, really, about having 3 tight ends on the field at one time. And so they'll finally get a chance to do that. And it'll be interesting to see how they use all 3 guys because, they all bring different skill sets. So it'll be interesting to see how Doug kind of incorporates all that into the offense.
We're talking with Dave Weinberg from the Press of Atlantic City. Dave, Wendell Smallwood had a really impressive game against Pittsburgh, but what's the plan with Wendell Smallwood moving forward?
That's kind of an interesting dilemma that they have, and it's a good one to have if you're a head coach. So they seem to have almost too many running backs now. With Ryan Mathews was banged up in the last game, and that's what gave Wendell his opportunity to shine, and he really took advantage of it. So, but now Ryan's back healthy again. Doug had mentioned that he's still his go-to guy. He's going to get the bulk of the carries. So now you've got Ryan Mathews, you got Kenyon Barner, you got Wendell Smallwood. Of course, you can't keep Darren Sproles off the field for too much longer. So it's a real challenge. It's going to be a real challenge for Doug to find a way, like with the tight ends, to find a way to make sure everybody gets their carries, stays fresh, because every running back wants the ball every time they can. They all claim that they need it to get into a rhythm. So, but there's only so many carries to go around. So it's going to be interesting to see how he divides it all up.
Doug seemed to indicate that, he hasn't really changed his thought process that Ryan is the guy. But do you think Ryan was a better fit last year in Chip's offense, or do you think he's a best fit in this offense? Which way do you think he fits best?
Boy, that's a tough one because he really had a pretty productive year last year. I'm not real sure, only because it seems like whatever offense he's in, he always gets hurt. So it's kind of hard to get a read on him. And that's the case again this year, too. So I've got to see him play 3 or 4 games in a row just to get into a rhythm a little bit and to find out, how he does fit with this. Because right now he got off to a pretty good start, I thought, but injuries seem to always get in the way with him. So I got to wait and see, how he reacts when he gets, a few more carries, plays maybe 3 or 4 games in a row to decide, which one's better.
Well, and then the follow-up would be, is he the best fit of the guys on the roster for this offense?
Yes. When he's healthy, I think he's one of the best in the league. I mean, he's proven that he's a big, strong, fast guy who can also catch the ball out of the backfield, which is that's Smallwood's strength, too, is catching the ball as well, and Barner, for that matter, and Sproles. So, but I think in terms of an all-around balance, I think Mathews is the better runner of the 4, and probably the better blocker too. And he is as good as a pass catcher as most of those other guys. So I would say that Mathews is the guy, if that's what you're asking.
I like Mathews, big, strong back. Interesting to see if he can keep healthy. And the way they divvy up the carries, because I think all the guys, the Sixers running backs, the Eagles running back situation is like the Sixers front court here. Everybody deserves minutes. It's how they're going to divvy them up here moving forward. We're talking with Dave Weinberg from the Press of Atlantic City. Doug Pederson back at work, his first press conference since the Eagles, had the week off with the bye. And another thing, give me, Dave, your thoughts on what's going on with Lane Johnson and the resolve, if we're going to see anything here, and what the plan moving forward could be if and when we see Lane Johnson suspended. It seems like he's going to play this week.
Yeah, it looks that way. He had his hearing yesterday with the NFL, and it typically takes 5, 6, 10 days to issue a decision. So that means that I know he took all the reps again with the first team offense again today. So that leads me to believe that the Eagles think he's going to be playing against the Lions. It's going to be interesting to see what they do moving forward, though, because he is going to get suspended at some point. I think it's just a matter of how many games. I don't think it'll be 10, probably more like 6 or 8. But Doug kind of alluded a little bit today that he's considering using the rookie. I can't pronounce his name, unfortunately, but
Big V.
Big V or Vitae, you can just stay with that.
Right. Just don't call me late for dinner, right? So he's going to be getting a crack at playing right tackle because Doug, and it's probably a good move on his part. He was thinking the less I have to tinker with that offensive line, the better off I'm going to be. Instead of switching Barber to right tackle and then having either Stefan Wisniewski or Isaac Samalo as the left guard, now you're changing up 2 positions. And this way, you just put Vitae or Big V into the right tackle spot, leave Barber where he is. So that's kind of that's probably less transition that they have to make and less upheaval. So that's probably a good thing. I just don't know if that kid's ready to play at this level, though. He's been playing right tackle in practice, but he's at the scout team. He's just mimicking what the opposing offense is going to bring that particular week. I don't know if he's quite ready to make that kind of jump yet, but I guess we'll probably find out in a week or 2.
Yeah, it's interesting because the thought is Barbary swings out, Wisniewski steps in, which also meant that Sayamala might not have been ready. To think that Vitae is now ahead of Sayamala potentially is an interesting change in everything, but I guess that leaves Wisniewski not so happy.
Yeah, he's not. We tried to kind of talk to him a little bit today, and he just issued a terse no comment. But yeah, it's clear that he doesn't enjoy his role. I mean, it's a valuable one, being that swing guy, being able to plug in at center and guard. But I know he came here expecting to compete for a starting job. And the fact that he really wasn't given an opportunity really grates on him because he's a competitor at heart. And he
started every game he's ever played in this league other than here in Philadelphia.
Yep, with Oakland and Tennessee, I guess it was. But, yeah, he's used to being out there, and it doesn't sit well with him to have to be a backup.
Dave Weinberg from the Press of Atlantic City as the Eagles getting ready for the Lions here. Other interesting things from Doug Pederson today where, this is a team that, as he kind of said, injuries were healthy. To be that healthy this late in the year, I mean, it's not late in the year, but look at this league, Dave. I mean, guys are falling all over the place, and the Eagles have no injuries this week. That's pretty unprecedented, and it's funny. That was really supposed to be Chip's thing with these guys are sleeping better, they're eating better, and the injuries were going to be at a minimum, and here's Doug Pederson, old school, coming in, and the Eagles have no injuries.
Yeah, it's kind of ironic considering he ran one of the more physical training camps that they've had in years, really. So the fact that they've gone through all that, and there are no, they've had the normal nicks and dings like Zach Ertz with a displaced rib, Carson Wentz cracked 2 ribs, but yeah, they haven't had any season-ending injuries. I guess you should probably knock wood if you're near some, but no torn ACLs, no broken collarbones, none of that kind of stuff. So yeah, they're definitely one of the healthiest teams in the league, if not the healthiest.
He also was asked today about Dorial Green-Beckham and kind of indicated that they're seeing more from him. They want to implement him a little bit more. So do we think that Beckham has a bigger role moving forward?
I think so. I mean, I think he should, too. I mean, he's a big, strong, kid, fast, who can go up and get the ball in the red zone or in the end zone, and then also a pretty good receiver, with giving out in space too, like as a deep threat. So that's something they've been lacking since, they got rid of Deshaun almost. Somebody who can really stretch defenses and make them worry about that facet of the game. And so I think he brings that to the table at least. I think the more that he gets comfortable with the offense, the more he gets comfortable around his new team, his teammates, gets more confident in his role and with the playbook, I think you're going to see more out of him. And you should.
He also, one thing, and I think Dorial Green-Beckham, I think that at the very least, there should be some packages in the red zone for him. If you're going to use him in any area, have him in a red zone package, and we really haven't seen that. Although we did see it in his, the preseason, they had a package where he was in the end zone, and it was like, oh, they're going to use him down in that area, and they really haven't done that yet. So maybe they're just kind of waiting to roll out more.
Yeah, maybe. And I think it probably took it was a big adjustment for him and a big shock, I think, for Tennessee to give up on him like that. And I think he's kind of like feeling his way a little bit for the first couple of weeks. But now he seems more of a part of the locker room, more friendlier with his teammates, kind of socializing with them a little bit more. And he's another one of those guys who's here. He's one of the first to get here and one of the last to leave, which was supposedly the knock on him in Tennessee. So the fact that he's been so dedicated to this point, I think that's going to pay off for him down the road here.
Yeah, and Dave, a lot of times, and maybe you can speak to this talking to these guys, something that doesn't come up a lot is when you change teams, you also change cities, which means finding your way around town and figuring out a place to live sometimes stunts you getting ready and prepared at a faster rate.
Yeah, that's true, especially when you're coming out of college. That's a huge culture shock for Carson Wentz. I mean, his brother moved here with him to help him make the transition. It's a big jump from North Dakota to Philadelphia, a big city with a lot to do and a lot of distractions too. So, and a lot of these guys are like that. They went to schools that were kind of centered around colleges, not a whole lot to do as far as outside the campus is concerned. And just the fact that you're on your own, you're an adult now, and it takes some time to adjust to that and to get used to everything, even with the small things about, doing your laundry and that kind of stuff. And I know that to the Eagles' benefit, they have a condo complex that's relatively close to the NovaCare complex, and it seems like that's where most of the players, especially the young ones, stay. So I think that kind of minimizes the distractions and the adjustments that they have to make.
Hey, Dave, did Doug comment on Nigel Bradham at all? Does he expect any punishment from the NFL?
He did briefly. He's kind of like up in the air like everybody else. I talked to Nigel Bradham about it, though, and he was saying that he forgot that he had the handgun in his backpack, which,
you buying that?
Seems that really sounds bizarre to me. But, I kind of do buy it because I know that, he was saying that he carries it around with him all the time in Florida, both for protection and then it just seems like that's, I don't know. I can't speak to it personally, but it seems like he was saying that the gun laws there are a lot more lax than they are in some other parts of the country. So
which is accurate.
It's kind of almost like a casual thing almost. And but to have like a loaded gun in your backpack when you're going through airport security, I mean, it's not like you've never flown before.
Well, does he understand? Does he understand that maybe he's absolutely telling the truth that he just didn't know it was in there, that it's just second nature. But does he understand that he had this? He had the other problem in Miami earlier this year, that it's just not a good look for him.
Yeah, he seems to. Yeah, he keeps saying he keeps apologizing for the boneheaded moves that he makes. But I think they're going to, it's almost to the point where it's not even worth a headache. I mean, I guess he's an okay player. He hasn't really done anything to say. He has one interception, but he hasn't really done anything to kind of really stand out. So, maybe if he keeps messing up like this, they may reach a point where they say, it's not even worth it to us, and maybe just, cut ties or maybe try to trade him somewhere else just to give him a fresh start like they did with, like happened with Nigel Bradham Green.
Hey, Dave, Doug indicated today.
I'm sorry, Dorial Green-Beckham. Sorry, I get confused.
Doug indicated today.
You know what I meant.
You were on vacation. We let you slip there. Yeah. Doug indicated today that in the first 3 weeks of the year that he was asked what groups have stood out, and he said both lines, offense and defense. Are those the two areas that you think have been the standout areas from this team?
Oh, sure, absolutely, especially defensive line. Brandon Graham's been playing as well as he's ever played here. I know that Fletcher Cox got the monthly award for defense, but I would argue that Graham even had a better start to the year than Fletcher did, as good as he is. So, those two, Benny Logan, like we talked about before, vastly underrated. Connor Barwin's kind of got off to a little bit slow start as far as sacks are concerned, but he's still a pretty good all-around player there, I think. And, Vinny Curry's yet to make his presence felt, but I think that's bound to happen as the year goes on. So I think the front four has been very solid. And the offensive line, too, especially there was a lot of uncertainty going in with how Jason Kelsey was going to bounce back. I know he got off to a really rough start for the first two games, but played pretty well against Pittsburgh. And, the Lane Johnson scenario, you got everybody's wondering if Jason Peters was going to be able to come back after having a pretty disappointing year last year. But, so far so good. They seem to have all overcome their various troubles or problems or what have you, and that seems to be a pretty cohesive unit too. It's going to be really interesting to see down the road, though. When Lane probably gets suspended, if that unit's still going to be able to play at the same level with some new parts in there.
Dave, Jim Schwartz got carried off the field when he was with Buffalo and he beat the Lions. Do you sense any extra motivation for him this week?
Well, I haven't talked to him yet. He's due to talk tomorrow with Frank Wright, but I know he's kind of. I know the kind of person that he is a little bit. I think he's going to try as much as he can to downplay it. That's not to say that the players won't be motivated for him. I talked to Stephen Tulloch yesterday or Monday, and he was saying how it's pretty clear that the way everything ended in Detroit. Stephen was actually on the field during that infamous handshake with Jim Harbaugh and the back slap and all that stuff. And, he's not, I won't say bitter, but I know he's disappointed. Jim's disappointed about how his tenure ended in Detroit. So there's probably some added incentive there, even though he won't admit it.
Dave Weinberg, Eagles beat writer from the Press of Atlantic City. Eagles and the Lions getting ready for Sunday. And Dave, I know we're a couple of days off, but Lions, Marvin Jones didn't practice today. This is a team that struggled last week, losing to the Bears. It seems like a lot is adding up that Philadelphia, for a road game, they're tough to win in the NFL, but this seems like one that they should come back to Philadelphia 4-0 with, right?
Yeah, you would think so. Although I've been telling people, though, just because, say they beat the Bears and the Bears beat the Lions, that means that they'll beat the Lions. That necessarily doesn't always add up that way. That you never know, which team is going to, show up on a given week. I know it's a cliche, but it really is true in the NFL, especially. Who would have thought that the Rams would be 3-0 at this point, or 3-1? 3-1 after getting, blown out by San Francisco in the first game. And it's just a very strange league that seems to change. The momentum seems to change, week to week, game to game. You would think the Eagles are now favored, I think, in Detroit by 3 points or so. So you would think that this sets up pretty well for them, well rested. Detroit's battling some injuries, but as we've seen, I remember Eagles playing Minnesota a couple of times, and they had down to their fourth string quarterback. Colts the same thing, and they've lost both games. So you can never really tell as far as how things are going to turn out until they actually play.
Definitely concur that. So week to week in this league. Example A: the L.A. Rams losing to Chip Kelly on Monday night, and now they're 3-1. The NFL is a wild league each and every week. Dave covers it for the Press of Atlantic City, and you heading to Detroit soon?
I am, yep, on Saturday. Well, I'm trying to spend as less time as I can here.
I know when you were in Chicago, you got out of Dodge a little early. Yeah. Detroit, not so much.
I did. Although I was there for work too, with covering Matt Caesar and the Cubs. So
that's right.
But there's not a whole lot to do in Detroit. So I'll probably go out Saturday night and come home Monday morning.
All right, pal. We'll enjoy the game. Safe trip.
All right. Thanks, guys. I appreciate it.